Hello and welcome to the ChrissieCast live from the compound. And today is Thorno Day, which is arguably the cutest day of anyone's week. Now, today my mate Dave and I discuss the merits of the words Tater Tots and other confusing Americanisms. We also discuss the various panel, show and radio regrets that we have had/endured. ChrissieCasters give that activated chia pudding an extra stir because here comes inner city hippie dad, Dave Thornton. Welcome to the ChrissieCast, Dave Thornton. It's been ages since I've seen you. What's been going on?
Too much has been going on.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So, just crushing it in life.
Yeah.
You get it, babes.
Yeah.
Got heaps on the spin. You know, it was a funny thing. I was only in LA for a couple of weeks, but I do remember that's a place where you've got to say you're doing heaps. Like, I've got heaps going on because it was LA. When Australians go, oh, no, they're just shitting around. And I had to knock that out of my system when I was there. And I remember talking to an English guy who's like, you can't say that. You've got to be like, I'm really busy. I've got heaps of stuff on.
Do you know, I've only been to America, like I took the kids to Disneyland about a year ago. It was so expensive. I could not believe it.
Not rising cost of living expensive, just expensive, you reckon?
Yes.
Oh, Disneyland's expensive?
No, everything was expensive.
What did you find?
Yeah.
I find food really cheap there.
No.
No?
No. Like I would have to buy like little cups of fruit and whatever because, you know, kids, fruit, you got to do the right thing.
No, but you also need fibre in America because if you just eat what they're eating, you won't shit for 6 months.
Tater Tots for the win.
Tater Tots.
Tater Tots.
Like Napoleon Dynamite.
I just think it's such a mistake that we call them potato gems and they are actually tater tots. I feel like that's an error, but they should be tater tots.
Gem's nice.
No, it's nowhere near as good. Tots. And don't get me started on the potato royale, which is like, you know.
What's a tot though?
It's the no brand. The tot, I don't know. Who knows? But a tater tart is so good.
I like tater.
But I would pay like $16 for a cup of cantaloupe. I was shocked.
Jesus. No, I mean, no, I was there 10 years ago and I remember things like and when I say a punnet of blueberries, they were deep punnets. You're like, this is a lot of blueberry. I don't know if I'm going to get through this. And I remember thinking, this is really cheap.
Did you know that a punnet of blueberries is like, it's my one act of rebellion?
In what way?
I have spent maybe $200,000 on blueberries for my kids.
200,000?
Yeah, for 300,000.
you bought a small apartment's worth of blueberries for your children.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
This is off-season buying.
Yep.
Because that's when off-season buying is when you're looking at the berries. I will take a long time at the supermarket to look at those berries when they're off-season. You're like, whoa, this is getting to some big bucks.
Yeah, like I hold them in my hand and I think for myself, $9, no. But for some reason, when it was for the kids, I would always do it. But I would bring home blueberries, they would eat them. I would not have one. Like classic mum last stuff. And I love blueberries. For years, I never, ever, ever had a single blueberry. And those little fat hands would be shoving them in. Yum, 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 yum. I love them. Doesn't matter that you're going broke so that I enjoy these blueberries, mummy.
So that your antioxidants are going out the wazoo.
That's it.
Okay, let's litigate this.
Yeah.
How old's your oldest?
He's about to turn 16.
16 years, $200,000.
15 years. They start solids at about 1, you know.
Okay. Yeah, so you've 15 years.
I've got a year in the bank there.
Can someone please do the math on this? $200,000 divide by 15. There's 3 kids. That's like, because that's a lot of money per year that we're cranking out here. That's over $10,000 a year.
Yeah.
$12,000, say.
Minimum. I'm saying it's closer to 300,000. I mean, you can take me to task. I'm not an accountant, and either are you. But I'm telling you, it's nearly $1 million worth of blueberries I've spent.
Yeah, a private school education's worth of blueberries.
Yeah. So now, my act of rebellion is when I'm out on a walk, I might even buy 2 punnets of blueberries and I walk and I eat every single one. Every single one to myself. And they are delicious.
That is living.
Sometimes you get those big ones. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, look, once they go, every berry, once it loses its consistency, you're in trouble. Like that's the hard thing with berries, you know? Like
yes.
when they're crushing it, they're going really well.
Yeah.
And when they're soft, you're like, oh, because they're so expensive. You're like, God damn it.
I know.
Can't believe. See, I think the best ones are, and this might be controversial, raspberries.
Oh, I love raspberries.
But then I think you're on shakier ground because, you know, a strawberry could hold for a while. I think blueberries hold pretty well. Raspberry, you feel like they're great or they're shit house and they're squashy. Like they're just...
Yes, they've gone too far, but they're great for making muffins. You
Raspberry?
make muffins? You're a sort of...
I don't make muffins. I'm in the clip for Oliver Clark's Making Muffins song, which if anyone listening to this podcast can listen.
I love that
I'm dressed
so
as
much.
a giant cat preening.
I
Celia Piccola's on it. Luke McGregor's on it.
It's the best. Google
Tony
it.
Martin. Just please look it up. Oliver Clark
I
making
only
muffins.
found that out. How long ago was it a thing? Oh, my God, that's my daughter
Someone's
texting
running
me.
hot.
Tell you what.
You've got a lot going on.
Peg's got the day off from school.
Peg?
That would never happen in my day. She's had 2 days off in a row.
Ooh.
Or curriculum or, you know, something.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a hassle.
Day off. I'm yes.
But
I'm the son of a school nurse. My kids go to school through hell or high water.
And so they should.
And then we get the call. They're actually no good.
That's what I do.
And I go, okay.
If my kids are sick, they go, oh, I feel sick. I go, just go and then we'll work it out from there.
Yeah, because you feel like going, oh, you'll get distracted.
And 9 times out of 10, they just push through. Once you're there, that's the hard bit. Back to raspberries. If you want to make a really amazing raspberry muffin, I will give you the recipe. But because of the sort of father and guy you are, we can substitute spelt flour and almond flour and it will still taste amazing because I feel like you're
There'll be some kind of unicorn spaff in there or whatever the hell we
yeah.
Our people.
Yeah, you just cream that with the non-sugar with the maple syrup.
Yeah. I don't bake. Thank you, but
You don't bake.
nope, I have. I've thought about this recently because I'm almost the opposite of a foodie in that I purchase so much like of my meals. And I saw the Steve Martin documentary and he goes, I only make poached eggs and beyond that I eat out. And I was like, oh, Steve, you and I were connected because I feel when you do a lot of stand-up, you're touring a lot. So there's a lot of, mate, you can have a meal before the gig and you'll quite often, especially in the early days, go, yeah, please, because I can't afford it. And then I was working hospo and stealing food from there to eat for dinner. And so I've never had a passion nor acquired, like there's stand-ups who will cook and things. I've just kind of lived a life where I would prefer to never cook again.
Don't you love it when somebody famous that you admire
Yeah.
says something that speaks to your soul that you thought only you did? Like
Yeah.
I can see your face hearing Steve Martin going, I can only poach eggs. And you're like, oh, my God, yes, me too. And if it's okay with Steve Martin, then it's okay with me.
Absolutely. Like my partner drives her crazy because I cook what I need to cook. Like I'm like, I'm not cool. I'm just doing it. I'm plugging it in. We're eating that. That's fine. And I don't fix stuff either, like around the house. She's like, because her dad's really handy. And then when we're having dinner with Limo and his wife, and she's like, he doesn't fix anything. And I'm like, Leems, this is great. And they sat there talking about how useless we are about fixing things around the house. Because we will just be like anything. They're like, fix a light bulb. I'm like, I'll pay $150 for a Sparky to come through and do it.
I mean, everyone's got their strengths.
Yeah.
And that is not yours.
Also, Limo, it's funny because he's like a country boy. You know, like he comes from farming stock and he's like, oh, no, thank you.
What? Ooh, yuck. What is your cutoff? Like, what is your handyman threshold? I know you've just mentioned a light fitting. You would be able to change a globe, obviously.
No,
Everybody can do that.
I am being a bit extreme and it's funny because...
Can you hang a picture?
Yeah, I can do all those things. And what's funny
I'm trying to find your cutoff point.
is that I think my partner pushes me to a point where I'm like, fine. And then I rip something out and she's like, you can do it. And I said, I know, I always can. I just don't want to. And then I won't do anything anymore. And I think then that frustrates me. I'd be like a person on a football team where you go, he's got all talent. He just doesn't apply himself.
Oh,
and that
God.
would be me.
That's every report I ever had.
Yeah.
And really is still the way I live my life.
I know.
I could be a lot better, but I don't want to.
This is pretty bad in that this is in my worst times when I'm like, right, the chain of command is I write jokes, I perform jokes, I get paid, and then I pay someone to do the shit I don't want to do. And then my partner's like, well, okay, cool, man. Like, that's what you want to do. And when my father-in-law...
Cool, man.
My father-in-law was a engineer on the factory floor of Boeing. So he's like handy as hell. And this is a story that makes me laugh.
I mean, look, in fairness, he's probably got the magical gift of being on the spectrum.
He's as patient as all get out. I think that's his love language, like a lot of the men that.
Yeah, but the way his brain is wired, that's probably very easy for him. If he can work at Boeing as an engineer,
yes.
you know, it's easy for him to rewire something or build a shelf or like even measure something. I find it hard to measure things. I have to take photographs of the measurements. Hopeless.
Right. I mean, I do think pragmatism and patience are his strong suits. And so like this engineering side of it that lends his interest to it. But this story always makes me laugh. And he, to a degree, goes, he doesn't say it's not funny. He just never laughs. And I
But he doesn't laugh at this story or he doesn't laugh at all?
No, he laughs a lot.
Okay, great.
Just with this one, he kind of looks at me like, why is that funny?
Oh, my God, amazing.
In that, it's really nice. My in-laws have found Buddhism at a later age. They find it really nice.
That's interesting.
It is very interesting.
How did that happen?
I don't know. They got a bit older and I think my mother-in-law has always had, I think my partner told me she spent a lot of time in a nunnery when she was young. Like wasn't forced. I think went there a lot maybe to play and things like this and found, the theological side of things interesting.
Yeah, right.
And then found Buddhism and I think it's really cool. It's really nice. Good on him. But my father-in-law, again, his love language is fixing things. He quite often goes to the local Buddhist temple and just will help out. Be like, yeah, I'll paint that. I'll do that. We've got to fix that up. And I think that's nice. I've even helped him out at times. During lockdown when we were all looking for something to do and it definitely wasn't gathering in groups, I helped him out, just doing a bit of painting. See, I can apply myself.
Yeah, of course you can.
But then there was a moment where one of the Buddhist monks' windows of their car, the driver's side window, wouldn't go up. So it was just down the whole time, which,
For some reason, I just wouldn't imagine that a Buddhist monk drives.
Isn't smashing around in a Mitsubishi Sigma.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I find those things really funny too.
He'd need a Nimbus, wouldn't he, for all the other monks?
Yeah. I know what you mean. When those things you go, I just thought you somehow floated to wherever you needed to go.
Yeah, or you never left where you lived. You're just constantly in silence or praying or wearing those funky brown gowns. Of course they have to leave. Of course they have to go to the supermarket. Anyway, I just can't imagine in a car.
No, it's like finding, I think, when you see a person like a street performer just filling petrol into their car?
Yes.
And it's like one of those statue people and they're fully in silver, but they're just filling up $50 worth of unleaded.
Yes.
And you go, oh, this is so weird. It's out of context.
Yes.
And you're right, with Buddhist monks, if they're wearing the full orange robes and doing a bit of that, you're like, of course you got to do this, but it looks weird.
It looks very incongruous at the ampole.
Yeah. And so, but the funny thing I found was that they had to fix the window. And he said, I'm going to take it to a garage. And my father-in-law's like, no, we can fix this. And he's then sitting there taking the panels off the inside of a car.
Wow.
And this is a bit that I find funny. This is how much patience he has. A Buddhist monk went, I'm out. I'm done here.
He out-zenned a Buddhist monk.
Yeah, the Buddhist monk was even like, in my mind, the Buddhist monk's like, fuck this. Like he snapped. He's done 30 years of meditation. And
it's the equivalent of throwing the Monopoly board.
I can't do this. and my father-in-law went, no, hang on a second, we've still got this. And he said he then finished it out himself because the Buddhist monk lost his mind.
He is patient.
So he's so patient.
What? And that's the story that your father-in-law doesn't find it amusing?
Well, he's just like, I guess. But it wasn't. And I'm like, this is funny. Nev, like
That's so funny,
You've
Nev.
outlasted a Buddhist monk, a man who has dedicated his life to patience, and you outlasted him.
That is brilliant. I loved, tell me more about this later in life Buddhism. How long have they been Buddhists for?
He's a very pragmatic man, and I found it really interesting too when I met him. He said he was doing meditation in the 90s because there was just a lot on. He said, I was working very hard. I found my patience was short. And so I started meditating. And I said, Nev, that's like he's from Coventry in England. It's not like he was around Eastern philosophy growing up.
Yeah.
And he just said, I just found it was beneficial for everyone that I just needed to learn some patience.
I love this. It's so open-minded.
I agree with you, but it came from a very practical point. He wasn't going, is there a higher being? Is there something more to this? What are we, just matter and energy traveling through time? What are we? He went, I need to calm down. This does it. I got involved. I found them to be very patient and very nice people. And what do you know, we're here. And I found that fascinating.
And how else do you benefit from their Buddhism, do you think?
I mean, I think it's nice for them in a community sense. You know, they've got friends there and they do all that garb, which I think is nice. As far as with us, I mean, we spoke about this in the last pod. I still have a bit of that, like, you know, because people are still humans.
Yeah.
So anytime, you know, you're like, oh, well, where's your Buddhism now, mate? Have a bit of patience.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can't help but then, like, I still have that niggly part of my brain where I find that anyone, I'm like, oh, you're being pious, are you? Yeah, but you still ate those animals on your plate, weren't you? How far's your Buddhism going?
It is dangerous to say what you are because on anything, like if you say, I don't drink, for example, if you tell people that, if you say I'm a Buddhist, I'm a vegetarian, whatever, you run the risk of never being able to not be that thing.
Yeah.
So without facing that sort of attitude, like, you said you're a vegetarian and there's bacon in that. Yeah. You know?
Yes.
So I try not to tell people the whole thing because I haven't had a drink in 3.5 years or something. I'll look it up. I haven't checked for ages.
That's nice that you don't know.
Pick a number.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you how many days do you think it is?
Oh, God. I mean, since you said 3 years, it's over 1,000. That's 1,000 days, isn't it?
It is 1,223 days since I've had a alcoholic beverage.
Good on you, mate.
And I wasn't going to talk about it because it's just something I did for myself. And then I was on the project one night and there was a story about being sober and I was in that meeting and I was like, oh, well, I haven't had a drink. I think by that stage it had been 11 months or something.
Yeah.
I said, well, I haven't had a drink for 11 months and I don't think I'm ever going to drink again. So I could probably talk about that. And they were very excited. They were like, great, this is, you know, you've got this.
Yeah.
You can carry this on. And I remember I didn't really want to talk about it because at the time and still today, as it turns out, I've got no interest in drinking, but you don't really know. And what happens if I go on national television and say, I don't drink and I'm never going to drink again and it's the best thing. And then, you know, I want to have a bottle of wine in 2 years. I mean, you know, I don't know. So I'm not mad about talking about it.
Well, also in your position, no doubt, like if you say that and I'm then sure sobriety, like foundations, for lack of a better term, you know, those people would say, Chrissie can be the face of our people of Drive July, of doing all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then I think it doesn't necessarily commercialise it, but it becomes this kind of commodity that you're then known for. And as you said, if you fall off the wagon or you just decide to have a glass and then all of a sudden you're like Warnie with the dart hanging out of your face and all the quit campaign.
Exactly. Or if I just decide that it's actually none of anyone's business, which is sort of where I'm going. The decisions I make for myself, I used to feel an enormous pressure and obligation to talk about everything.
Yeah.
There was no filter at all. And I think what happened was I talked about everything. I shared everything. I think coming from a good place because I, like Steve Martin, you know, you hearing that about Steve Martin makes you feel good. I feel like, you know, if someone who wets themselves hear that I wet myself, then they go, oh, good, it's not just me, right? Yeah. So I've shared everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. But it sort of made me feel exposed, like I had nowhere to go, like I had nothing for myself.
Yeah, it makes complete sense.
Yeah. So, and I think particularly with decisions you make for yourself in that realm, like things that are good for your mental health, like my walking, like my focus on sleep, like my keeping my kids' identities private, like not drinking, all of that. I feel like it's so personal and it works for me and me only, and it's a decision that I made for myself, and that combo of stuff means that I can have a nice, calm life. If you talk about it too much, it gives people too much information and they judge you and get it wrong and then think you're saying something that you're not, and then that annoys me because then I feel like I have to correct people's opinions and you can't do that.
I feel sometimes you know, when you're doing something just for you or whatever you're doing. And then once you bring it out to the public, it kind of sullies it a bit because you're going, is my purest intention to just do it?
Yeah.
Or is it now to show the world that I'm doing it?
Yeah. And then when people go, oh, she's virtue signaling, you think, well, maybe I am. It doesn't feel like that, but maybe I am.
Well, I get conflicted in that I think I look at people at profile and they get behind a campaign. I think it's great because it shines a light on that campaigner who can do very good work, you know, raise funds for it and do all those things. And I think that's incredible. But then I always get conflicted because if I'm helping with those things, I'm like, this is for me personally.
Yeah.
Like I want to help those people. And yes, that would help that way, but maybe just getting involved. Like I'll give you an example in that during lockdown, I started working out with the Big Umbrella, which was they rescue food and cook it up for people living on the street.
Yes. I volunteer for Food Bank.
Yeah.
And it's so great. I did the start of that in lockdown too.
Yeah. And Justin and all the guys there are great. But initially, and he was very good at it. He always said consciously, he goes, I don't want to throw you in the mix and put you on social media because if you don't want to. And I said, look, I just want to just help.
Yeah.
So, cook stuff, pack things in, help out how I can, do whatever. Because I also didn't want to, you know, visit them twice and go, I'm doing this.
Yes. That's a good point too. Because you've got to really, like I am an ambassador for Food Bank and I'm not an ambassador for anyone else because I really believe in it and I want to do everything that they ask me to do and more. And if I can raise some money for that charity, I will do it. But you can't be the face of everything. Well,
yeah. And I remember that once lockdown lifted, and I'll concede, I've only helped out then a handful of times, more that because I'm away a lot for touring.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, it's very hard for me to then go, say, Wednesday, guys, I'm not here. And they're like, you haven't been here for 2 weeks.
You should think about adding your clout to that organisation because I've never heard of them.
Well, this is the thing.
You know what I mean? And if you say, these are good guys, it actually does make a difference.
I know. And then this year when I was touring, I would mention them at the end of the show.
Yeah, right.
And I put it on socials to be like these people. But I have been involved with them for now years. And I feel like going, I do know them. And I felt like going, this is the best way I can contribute because I actually can't. With my family and everything going on, it's very hard every week in, week out to help out down there.
Of course.
And so then I realised this is the best way I can help them.
Yes.
But it took me, like I was conflicted because you're going, well, are you doing it for the right reasons? Have you actually helped? And I had to go through this whole process for me before I realised I wanted to talk about it because I didn't want to just be a fly-by-night and go, it's really great.
Yeah, I know, but you're offering something that a lot of people can't, which is getting the message out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. Dave Thornton, do you have any vices?
Probably stand-up comedy. I think that's a vice.
Have you watched Hacks on
No,
Stan?
I haven't.
Okay.
I haven't.
So, loose, do you know what it's about? It's about a salty old stand-up comedian who hires a young writer to zhuzh her up, freshen her up. I love it. Reminds me of me and Jack, yeah. Anyway, she has a daughter and there's a big roast. You know how Americans like roasts? I do not. I think they're mean and awful and I would absolutely hate it.
I agree with you, but I did this year do Tommy Little's roast, who's one of my best friends, and it was glorious.
It just seems so mean.
Yeah, but we're all mean to each other. And it was, I walked away almost euphoric because I knew everyone on the panel, we all loved each other and we absolutely railed each other.
Yeah, I think, if it's like that, it might be different. But they always strike me as mean. Anyway, the lead actress in this show has a roast and her daughter speaks and she absolutely kills, does the best. She's the best roaster there. Yeah. And she says to her mother, oh my God, I realise now why you have done stand-up for so long. You're an addict just like me. Because she's been in and out of, 12-step programs, booze and drugs and whatever. And I thought, isn't that interesting? And then you just said that your vice is stand-up comedy, whereas I was expecting, I like a shot of heroin occasionally or something. I don't know.
I like shelving rodents and just seeing what they'll do.
But it's very interesting. Why would you consider that a vice?
It's always your partner who, when they find things and you go, oh, God, yeah, you're spot on. Because she says, you don't really have an addictive personality. And it's true. Like, I enjoy things. I enjoy drink. I enjoy dabbling in some of the dark arts that those things have to offer. Like everyone, you can just, devour food and then be like, oh, no, I regret that. But it's never been that thing of it's we're in trouble here. Like, I feel like I can turn those things off and on. Yeah. With stand-up, I've noticed it's a vice in that, it's on your brain so much. Like, there'll be times my partner goes, like, why are you thinking about this now? How could I not be thinking about it? And then also,
I need a hit, man.
If I ever told you that story, I think Husey would be really happy for me to tell this story. Okay. In that we had a Christmas gathering one year before Chrissie with all the comics, and it was in Fitzroy, and notoriously Husey lives in St Kilda, so they had to drive across. And again, it's always partners.
A long way.
It's always partners who cut. Like, they know exactly who they're working with. Yeah. Like, we can all put on a front for everyone else. Yeah. But it's your partner who's like, I know who you are. Yeah. And Holly was saying that they were driving across town and there was the silence in the car. And she said, what are you thinking of, Dave? And he said, every mistake I've ever made in my career.
Oh, my God. What I wouldn't give to have a look at that inventory.
And I know.
And he's so hard on himself.
He's so hard on himself. And he's always worked so hard. And he's
no one works harder.
No one works harder.
Not even Kris Jenner.
Yeah. And so but there was a part of it, because it made me laugh, and there was a part of it, I'm like, and especially when you're working in this industry where it's just constantly, we don't get sick days, we don't get holiday pay, you constantly got to claw away at it. There's a part of it as a performer as well. I was like, I kind of get it. Like, you're sitting there going, why did I do that? Why did I say that thing on that panel show 10 years ago? And it's sitting there and no one else gives a shit.
Is there an example of that kind of futile self-flagellation that you could share? Like, is there an example where you go, 12 years ago I said this thing and I still can't believe I said it?
Oh, yeah, constantly. I remember we were hosting a panel show called This Week Live, which was kind of pegged as like the project up late. But it was Tom Gleeson, Michelle Laurie, Tommy Little, and myself. And it only ran for, barely got through a season. I thought it was really great, but Channel 10 decided it's not on. I remember we had Eddie Perfect on because he was on Offspring. And we played a clip of him being really emotional. And it was like, oh, this is coming up on Offspring. And I remember just saying, looks like you're trying to fart. And I just said it. And it was like, and poor Eddie, I really like him. And I was like, I don't know why I said that. And he was like, oh, okay. And then it was a nice little moment.
The reaction of, oh, okay.
And the audience was like, what? And I just was like, I don't know why I said that. And then I just sat there going, what? And then, this is when people go, what's it like being on a panel show? You're like, if you say something wrong, it just eats you up.
How many years ago would this have been? I reckon at least 10.
Yeah, 12 probably.
12. You haven't let it go.
And it would just be sitting there. He's going, ah.
And the reason that was the wrong thing to say was that Eddie was acting.
Well, yeah, and it was
he was emotional.
To be honest, it was a great scene. I still regret it. Like, he did an unbelievable job. I've tried my hand at acting. I don't know if I could even get myself to cry on when all the cameras are around me, to actually emote something that people would understand. He did an incredible job. Why would I undercut it like that? And I was just like, and he's a nice guy. It's like kicking a puppy. What the hell am I doing? If Eddie Perfect is listening to this, I apologise, Eddie. You're too talented for that kind of crass humour.
Absolutely. But the volume of words that you and I have said, because it's our job, you're allowed to fuck it up occasionally. You know?
Oh, yeah. You'd have so many interviews when you're on radio where you're just like, oh, what am I doing? Why have I said that?
God.
Like, this person's just recoiled and you've gone, oh, okay, sorry. I don't know.
And it's like, I'm sorry, it just came out. I'll be better next time.
Yeah.
Or maybe I won't.
Yeah.
Maybe I've asked my last sensible question.
Yeah, and I'll just shrink inside myself, just eat myself up. So I think going back to your original question with the stand-up, it's that it is addictive. You constantly think, I've got to be on top of my game. Like, I get up and do gigs and you're like, why have I said yes to this one? But you just... Husey and I have talked about it, actually. He said it's his last vice. He's given up on everything but that. And I'm a bit the same.
He has an addictive personality. I mean, we shouldn't talk about him when he's not here. I'll get him on to talk about, his addiction to the V energy drinks, the vaping. I mean, he's addicted to work.
When he did his shoulder, the endones too.
Oh, I mean, and he knows that about himself. It's good when you know that about yourself.
There's something so endearing about that he's transparent about it.
Yeah. And I think I know that about myself too. Like, I have never done any sort of illicit drug ever, not even smoked a joint.
Oh, wow.
Because I know that I will love it. Yeah, I know I will love it all, and then my whole life is over. You know what I mean? I'll end up like Dana Plato from Different Strokes, just like living in a car with not a tooth in my head. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
Sad sort of National Enquirer life. That I can see very clearly the first time I smoke a doob. It's all over for me, so I just can't do that. I do know that about myself.
Like Barney on The Simpsons.
Yes.
He tries to sober up and becomes an astronaut, and then they celebrate with non-alcoholic wine and he loses his mind.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah, I can also think performing attracts addictive personalities because it is addictive when you're getting approval from people. And I think with stand-up particularly because it's a visceral approval. They've laughed at you and you're like, I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
And so you just keep going back to it like, go laugh at me again, laugh at me again. And then
what if I do this?
Totally. But then having a family now, you know, I know it's in there because there's a lot of, so you're leaving your family to go to a $50 gig.
I know, but your family doesn't laugh at you like the strangers do.
That's exactly right. I don't get the same validation.
No.
And so I've really, like I talked to a few stand-ups about this as you're getting older, and it's like, because when you start, you say yes to everything and every gig just because you're like, I got to get better and I got to do this and I got to do this. And then after 20 years of doing that, you're finally like, okay, maybe you can say no to something. And you're like,
well,
nah.
Logically you would think that you can, but the reasons that you need to do it will remain the same forever and ever. We spoke about Dick Van Dyke in the last podcast, I think. Maybe it was off air.
Yeah.
He's 98 years old and he is still going to the well.
Yeah.
That's us.
Absolutely. Like I find it, I mean, maybe people do retire and then fair enough, they drift off into the never. But then most performers just keep going. What you need? You need a 75-year-old to play this part. I'm available.
I'm there.
I can do this.
Just give me 6 weeks. I've got to get my hip replacement, and then I'm on set.
Totally.
I don't eat much from catering, and I'll share a toilet with Eddie Perfect, who's now 80 as well.
Still acts. I mean, when I hear stories like Morgan Freeman now obviously still acts, but just naps between the takes.
Sweet.
We'll just sit there being Morgan, and then where do you need me?
Oh,
and then he's back.
I'm sorry, what?
What lines do I have to say now? And then he's up and doing it.
You're a really good impersonator.
Thanks, mate.
You're really good at everything.
A lonely childhood. My mum would say when I was a kid, she'd think, there's no one over to play. And I'm in my room making up all the voices, playing and going and doing all the roles and everything.
How great.
It's funny and sad, isn't it?
No, it's not sad. That's brilliant.
Oh, yeah, you reckon?
Yes, it means you've got a giant imagination. That's what I say to my kids. Imagination is the best thing. It's the best thing, and you can't ever be angry at it. The other day, my kids have got great imaginations, always
nice.
Have had.
That's nice.
Social media and mobile phones are slowly killing it, and I can see it happening.
Yes.
But the other night, Peg was like, I don't want to go to sleep. I just know I'm going to have a nightmare. I've seen this thing about a Russian sleep experiment and I can't get it out of my mind, and I just know nightmares are waiting for me when I close my eyes, and I'm scared and I don't want to close my eyes. And I said, well, nightmares are bad.
Poor thing.
I get it.
Yeah.
However, what it means is that your imagination is great.
Yeah.
So sometimes you got to take the good with the bad.
Yes.
So good night, darling.
Sweet dreams, my love.
Sleep well.
No, I say that to my little one because I think about this even with myself because I've got a creative brain. I realised this during lockdown when every other option, because I couldn't do stand-up, was like every other option was a non-dependable job. Like I'll talk to my partner and she'd be like, what do you want to do? Because I used to be a drawer. I was a graphic designer. And you're like, hey,
that's right.
Then I was like, I could be a sketch artist for who? I don't know. And I'm like, I'm becoming... I
could do cartoons.
Less and less employable as every idea came along because it's only just creative stuff. But then I realised the creativity can go either way. Like, you know, you can creatively... And I do see performers sometimes do this where they're creatively putting themselves in a hole. You know, they're like, those people don't like me. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. They probably don't think about you.
Yeah.
You've created a narrative. You've gone off on your little bloody brain.
Yeah. And you've made that true for you.
You've made that true for you. Yeah. And I noticed it my eldest, she's like that. I said, oh, your brain creativity is a good thing, but sometimes the creativity goes off in the other direction where you're going, oh, I've made all this up in my head.
Yes.
And so you've got to go, bring it back in, buddy. Come on.
Yeah, you've built that maze, one misconception at a time.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've had plenty of arguments with people in my car on my own.
Me too. I've had the best. I am my most articulate in an argument when I'm by myself in the shower.
Don't you? And geez, I've let some people have it.
Oh, the wrath.
Yeah. Because I also think what's worse is now that cars, because you could realistically be on your phone, so no one looks at you odd.
That's so true.
So I've let
Actually,
people...
I should probably do that because in the shower it's very obvious that I'm losing my mind. You... Don't you want to fuck her? Do you know what I mean?
I think you'll find.
Yeah. How dare you? All of that happens.
Like in Seinfeld when George, he was eating the prawns in the meeting and the guy goes, hey, the sea coal, it's missing its shrimp. And he thinks about it all weekend.
I don't know this episode. And thinks of a
comeback, and so goes back into a meeting with the bowl of shrimp again to try and get his zinger back.
And nobody mentions it, do they? No, they don't say the sea coal the second time, do they? Or they do.
They say something like that, and then he gets flustered and goes, well, I slept with your mother. And then someone says his mother just passed away and he can't handle it. But I feel like that. I've had so many meetings in my car where I've gone through all this stuff, and I just hope everyone thinks I'm on hands-free, giving it heaps to someone when it's not.
I'm going to finish this chat with you with something you just reminded me of. When you said that thing about Eddie Perfect, and you just think, oh my God,
no, I don't know why I
can't
said
be
it.
Trusted. And then George mucking up his line. I was on air, on the radio and live.
When is this?
This year.
This year?
It's my most recent moment.
Don't you reckon it violently, like I will think about these things and I'm like I feel like I want to vomit.
I feel sick.
Yeah, I feel sick.
And you will feel sick for me. We're going to end this on a sickening note.
This is nice.
I was doing a phone topic on the times that you end up looking at your phone. For me and Marcel, it's 11:11. We always look at our phone and it's 11:11, either in the morning or in the night.
Really?
Yeah, and we sort of take it as an oogity boogity message from the universe that we're on the right track. So sometimes I'll just be thinking of something, then I'll look at the phone, it'll be 11:11, I'll take a screenshot and send it to Marcel. So that was the premise of the phone topic. Anyway, I was like, 13 24 10, give us a call what's your time? If it's not 11:11, what is it? And of course the board filled up, right? Everybody's got a time.
You've hit a nerve.
I mean, did someone say relatable? So, some it was like 12:34, 1 2 3 4. Every time they look, blah 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 blah.
Okay.
Anyway, this woman called up. Let's call her Marlene. And I'm like, hey Marlene, what's your time? She said, oh, it's 4:11. And I said, 4:11? What? What is that? And she said, oh, it was actually when my mother passed away. And I said, oh gosh. And she's like, yeah. And at least 4 or 5 times a week, I will look at that and it will say 4:11 and I'll think of my mother and I think it's definitely her speaking to me. Now, a normal person would have just left that. But do you have any questions that you would like to ask? Like, have you thought of something that you would like to ask Marlene?
I mean, how her mother died? No.
I wouldn't say that. I would never say, oh, how did your mother die? Because you know that the answer's not going to be good on a live
I'm asking
upbeat radio show.
I got to be honest, my first indication would have been I just would have backed away. But then that's because I'm not good with conflict.
I probably should have done that. 'Cause I'm not so stupid that I would say, how did your mother die? Because I can preempt that answer and it's never good.
Yeah, I'm probably, now that I'm thinking about it, you're a much better broadcaster than me. You would have said something quite nice.
But I got that answer.
I hope she passed away.
Without asking the question. So my question to her was, Marlene, I've just got to ask, how do you know exactly what time your mother passed away?
Okay.
I know when, when people are born, that's registered, but how would you know exactly the minute? And she goes, and so this is what it sounds like on air and I'm already dying because I think, oh my God, I've done the wrong thing. She goes, sadly she was in a fatal car crash and the time was recorded on the CCTV footage. Jack, who I work with, collapsed on the floor live to air and just went, like he was in pain. So even though you talk for a living and that's what you've done for over 20 years, which is what I've done, you can still put your foot in it. Anyway, Marlene was fine with it. Okay. I apologised. I said, I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't have asked that question, which is also what I do. I just go, okay, that was bad. Sure. I admit it.
Yeah, but that's good. That's great.
So sad.
I mean that is radio. It's live as live can be. I mean, you're cranking out so much of it. I can understand. You've got some PD in your head going, keep the ball up.
Thank God I don't have one of them. I don't have one of them at all. I've got a really nice boss who's nice to me.
We'll talk about this off air.
Let's finish with this. What is the state of your car?
I will concede, my car has had a couple of dings. I used to keep it so clean and now it's started to, it's lost its way and so I have with it.
Is it a Subaru?
Oh, yeah, Subaru Outback.
Oh, it is?
Oh, please.
I just had that vibe.
Are you kidding me? We talked about my hippie inclinations. In my area, you legally have to have every second car a Subaru Outback or a Forester.
A Subi.
It has to.
Does it have the baby mums all squished up in the back? Did your kids go through baby mums?
No.
It's like a little individually wrapped. They were delicious. I used to raid them. They were like a rusk, but softer. I
mean, the rest of my family doesn't care about the car. I keep it clean because I do like a clean car, but then it's just I'm swimming against the tide. Although this this is a story I was reminded of only recently, which is there has been some scratches on the car and I will look at my partner and I'm like, where'd that come from? She always does that. I'm a very good driver. And I go, are you?
Dave, I can't have cameras on the parking lot at the supermarket.
Yeah. And then there's a lot of, well, I don't have the ding. Well, so it's me, is it? Well, I didn't. Okay, cool. And
God, relationships sound like a fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, God, I hate having to answer to other people.
So I remember this story clear as a bell because it was Good Friday and I was working on the project because probably everyone else was busy. And so I was there. And I remembered saying to the family, I'm like, especially over Easter, that's when Melbourne Comedy Festival's on. So I'm like, you guys head away. Don't wait for me. I feel like I'm ruining a good time.
Yeah, right.
So you guys head away. So partners headed away with the girls and I had a missed call, but then they left a voicemail. So you automatically go, oh, that's weird. So we're doing rehearsals and I'm like, oh, what is it? And they just go, it's Constable so-and-so from the police department.
Did your
mate, it just went
heart
cold.
Dropped, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my God. So I call up. And this is the thing. I do feel like police officers should answer with, oh yeah, nothing's wrong.
Yeah, they do that at my kids' schools. They always, just so you know, the boys are fine, Peg's fine, and then they go into it. Yeah.
And so they said, right, do you have a Subaru Outback? Yes, I do. Is the license plate? Yes, it is. And I'm like, blood's draining from my face. I'm going, what? She's headed away and they said, were you in Geelong on December 26th last year? And that's when I start perking back up. I'm like, I said, yes, my family's from Geelong. We spent Christmas together. So, yeah, I would have been down there on Boxing Day. And he said, and this is how long ago it was. I know that my youngest had been born like a month before Christmas. So this is, like 6 months later. The police officer goes, well, there was a hit and run on Boxing Day. And I said, okay. And I'm trying to think. And then I'm thinking to myself.
Hang on, do I remember running over somebody and then hightailing it out of there?
Totally. Enjoy your holidays, guys. Hit and run there's always a connotation of you've knocked someone over.
Yes.
But if you think about it, a hit and run can be just a clip. But it's that word.
The person.
Well, this is the thing.
I think you would remember.
So it's Boxing Day. And then I'm thinking through my brain, I was like, no, on Boxing Day, I'm always just sitting there like a lump.
Yeah.
Like I've just, all defences are down.
Do you watch the cricket and stuff?
That
Isn't
kind
there
of
a
stuff.
Boxing Day
I'm
test?
sitting there with my brother just going, you want some more ham?
Ham. Oh, yes.
And I remembered because my partner went out to do some errands and I laughed at this because I remember seeing the scratch on the car and going, how did that happen? And she went, well, I don't know. Like, I mean, and the whole, I've just had your kid. Like, what do you want? I'm tired. And I'm like, cool. Like, I'm not going to ask any more questions. And then I think I did start giggling and the person goes, well, this is a thing because no. And I went, oh, I think it's my partner. She gave birth a month beforehand. And the cop went, oh, it was a woman. And she went, yeah. And I said, she would have been tired out of her mind. What happened? and I know this happened, is that she'd pulled out of a park, clipped the car in front of her, like just gone. It was parked, but she's gone. But she's so tired. She was like, that sounds weird. And my partner's so nice. And she goes, I remember that. I waved at him to say sorry. So you've pulled out of your park and gone, rip, bye-bye.
Oh, that was weird. Toot toot.
See ya, loser. And then just blatantly drove off where they would have gone, well, I've got your license plate because you drove off at about 10 kilometres an hour. And she's driven home and like maybe even seen the scratch and gone, oh, no, that's not good for the car, is
She
it?
would have already forgotten it had happened.
Totally. And then so I'm like, you grinded against another car and then drove off just waving. Like, think about how arrogant that is. She was being nice, but that's a real like, see ya, mate.
And so that person has contacted the police. What happened?
Well, honestly, nothing happened because I think I said, oh, she gave birth like a month beforehand, which I don't know if the cop had their due diligence. I don't know if it was like a one of those film noir things where they're like, I knew she was trouble as soon as she walked in.
Peeking through the Venetians.
I think they just took it on face value, called the person who no doubt the insurer fixed it up.
Yeah.
And went, hey, she just gave birth.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, she was out of her mind.
Closed the file, put it through the shredder.
So, and because of that, I don't think we haven't fixed the scratch. And that's been my attitude to my car now is like, like as if you should fix yourself up. You look horrendous.
Yeah.
And then I haven't cleaned it that much since because I'm like holding it accountable, like as if my car is blown out. And
It's
I'm like,
sullied.
hey, mate, tighten your shit back up. Like as if.
Oh my God.
So my relationship with my car has deteriorated from that ding onwards.
That happens. That happens. Absolutely.
I've lost the love.
Yeah.
Which is not great. I mean,
No.
I should rekindle the love. I should give it a wash.
Yeah,
put
but-
it back in. Be like, actually, you have been great to me.
Panel beating is A, so expensive, and B, takes so long.
I don't reckon. Again, I've said this a few times now in this pod, but I live in Brunswick, which is all the hippies are there, but also a lot of the old garages are there because it used to be industrial. So there's so many guys you can turn up to and be like, bro, I got cash in my pocket. Oi, you get the hammer out, just match up the paint as close as you can get it. No one else needs to know.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to...
I'm actually impersonating the panel leader that I do.
I know.
Who's
obviously.
I love him. He's always like, because he's old school Brunswick. We took the car in when it got, my neighbour's roof fell on it when they were doing some renos. And the insurer's like, we need to come around because that's a house and contents problem, not a car on car problem. And I was like, we need our car now, mate. I've got young kids. Well, it's going to take at least a month for them to come out. And then I went to my panel beater and he goes, those guys, and I've got to concede anyone listening, his words, and I still laughed. He goes, those guys, oh, excuse me, pardon my French, they're cocksuckers.
I need to meet this guy.
And he's like, and someone walked in who was like Brunswickers, you think Brunswickers all hell, who were asking money for whatever, but they looked somewhere between, like they were very hippie-ish.
Yeah.
Nice for something. And I love that they walked off and he goes, have a look at him, bloody, a bit of how's it going? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he's fully there, mate. And I was like, this guy's great. He just, like, he doesn't care who's in front of him. He's talking the way he's talking.
Oh, my God.
And it's refreshing.
You need to go and see him, get a fix of his amazing language and conversation and get that car brought up to tip-top, please.
I do. Because I'm not sure if it's his dad or his grandfather who sits there, doesn't know a lick of English, just sits in the panel beaters.
Does the paperwork.
And I think he says like it's probably like he owns half of it, but he doesn't work there anymore, so he just swings on by.
Yeah.
And he's just like, yeah, man, he's just there, mate. He's just checking stuff out. He knows his shit, man, but can't speak English.
He's like Dick Van Dyke. He's going to be sitting at that desk till he's 98.
Oh, totally. Just wants something to do. But this guy at the front desk, I love him so much. So you're right. I should get in there and I'll get some more stories.
You must. I hope that we are still talking to each other when we're 98. Make a deal.
Please. Yeah. If my heart doesn't pack it in before him.
And I hope hope you're never the subject of my vitriol in the shower. I don't think you will be. Thank you so much for joining me, Dave Thornton.
Thanks, mate.
See you next time. As usual, I just loved my Thorno time and I hope you did too. You can follow Dave on Instagram at Dave_Thorno for more stuff about blueberries and panel beaters. And you can follow me too on at the ChrissieCast. Gotta go. My firewood delivery is here and it won't stack itself, my friends. Till next time, I love you deeply and I'm glad you're here.